G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Let's go. My wife went out last night and didn't come home until this morning. This is horrible. I'm furious right now, but I'm also depressed as hell. I know what I have to do, it's just killing me that I have to do it. It's fresh and it hurts a lot. My wife didn't come home last night. She went out with a couple of girlfriends, which is pretty normal for her. She's normally back at around 2 a.m. on these nights, so I stayed up. At around 2:30, I called to check in, and she answered, and I could hear people in the background. She told me that they went to a party but were leaving in a couple of minutes. She wasn't home by 3, so I texted. It delivered, but no reply. Around 4 a.m., I called again, and it rang a couple of times before she sent me to voicemail. My wife finally came stumbling through the door at 6:47 a.m. this morning. I know the exact time because I was worried. She was wearing a dress that she didn't leave the house in, with mesh leggings that I've never seen either. The leggings had been clearly torn and her makeup was smudged. My heart sank when I saw her. My immediate worry was that she had been assaulted. She only shook her head no when I asked her that. I asked her what she had been doing then. She only said that I knew what she had been doing, and that kind of confirmed what the voice in the back of my head had been screaming since she walked in. My wife cheated on me last night. I asked her who it was. She shrugged almost casually and said that it was somebody they met at the club. She went back to his house and hooked up with him, and then she Ubered home. She then said that she didn't want to fight and just wanted to sleep, so that's what she did. She's still asleep now and didn't even take a shower before passing out. Suffice to say, our relationship is over. We don't have any kids, and we rent, so it shouldn't be an extremely complicated process. I keep trying to reason myself out of it, pretending there might be something to salvage here. I've always maintained that cheating would be a red line for me though, and I think I need to stick to that now. In the comments, you keep trying to reason yourself out of it because this just happened and you are still in shock. The feeling of betrayal is still going to be there when the shock fades, so don't let yourself humor her now. Also, just to be 100% safe, I'd recommend an STD screening. This might not be the first time she's done something of this nature. And OP replies, I really don't think she's done this multiple times. If she had, she'd likely have come home and told me right away anyways. She's always been the type of person who can't keep things bottled inside. I will get tested though. It can't hurt, though I am a little scared of needles. You didn't think that she'd do it the first time either. It doesn't hurt to be safe than sorry. If she's done it once, you would proceed in the assumption that she has done it before, especially given her attitude. Agreed. This was way too blatant for a first-timer. I'm trying to wrap my mind around someone ballsy enough to come home in a different dress. It's either super ballsy for a first-timer, not her first time, or she's given up giving an F. We don't really know what the relationship was like prior to this. If they were already on the rocks, and OP's wife had already mentally checked out of the relationship, this could be her drunken way of saying, screw it, I'm out, and this is how it's happening. Not that it's a good way of doing it. OP, I don't know if it helps, but this happened to my husband with his first wife. They had 2 kids under 4. He was devastated and thought he could never love or trust again. We've been married 17 years now, and while our marriage is not perfect, as no one's is, he's never regretted finding me after letting go of her and not taking her back when she came calling 3 months after they separated, even though it nearly killed him. I was cheated on in 2 relationships before my wife. It took me 2 years after the second to consider dating again. Luckily met my wife who is very loyal and gives me no reason to worry, and we've been together for over 14 years now and just hit 10 years married. My pro tip to younger co-workers is to give it a few years and see how your partner acts during hard times and if they've truly got your back. If cheating is your deal breaker, and it's a totally reasonable one, the deal has been broken. When she wakes up, she's going to give you the whole song and dance that she was drunk, that she loves you, etc., etc. But the truth is, she broke your trust and your heart and your vows. Stick to your guns and leave the woman who doesn't respect you enough to stay faithful. OP replies, thank you. I don't know why it helps to hear it from another person, but it really does. I honestly don't know what I want to hear out of her right now. It's not like I'm going to believe anything she tells me anyway. And now, on to the update. Alright, things have happened. I am no longer at home, as I left. I wasn't able to get the day off work today though, so I'm writing this on my lunch now. It's been a struggle keeping myself together today, honestly. I've had to sneak off to the bathroom twice to cry. It's rough, dude. I'll post something more detailed later on because, holy effing shit, there is a lot. I'm exhausted. I've only slept about 4 hours total since this all happened. Also, to the woman who felt compelled to send me a topless picture, thanks, but also no thanks. My heart just isn't in that sort of thing right now. In the comments, please kick your soon-to-be ex out of your house. Don't give her the satisfaction of being the sole proprietor of a house that you bought together after wronging you. It sounds like she wants you to file her for a divorce, but one that would end on her terms. She purposefully lied to you about when she would come home. She probably wanted you to stay awake to be agitated and then make you even more angry by confessing to her infidelity in the coldest way imaginable, thinking that you could have hurt her while you were angry so she could have evidence against you in court. She may have been drunk, but that wouldn't make her less calculating. Stay strong, man, and always remember that it wasn't your fault and you're not the bad guy, but your wife is. She's a terrible excuse of a wife and a pathetic, cheating loser. And now, on to the final update. Me again, folks. I'm sorry that I didn't get around to this sooner. I wasn't able to get the day off work yesterday because my boss kinda sucks. I was a complete mess at work yesterday though, so I was allowed to take the rest of the week as vacation, thankfully. I think I went through all of the stages of grief while my soon-to-be ex was sleeping. I wasn't expecting my post to get any attention at all. I just figured that I needed to try to talk to someone about it because I was not in a good headspace. I made the post in the morning, and by noon, she was still conked out in the bedroom. By then, I had processed things a bit more, and I had a rough plan in my head that I was starting to set in motion. I made a short list of questions that I wanted answers to. I gathered up all my important documents, my laptop, etc., and then went into the bedroom and started packing myself a suitcase. I know a lot of folks wanted me to kick her out. I did consider it, but honestly, I'm not overly attached to this place. We just rent, and I'm in a lucky enough situation to be able to say that paying half the rent for a few months isn't going to financially end me. It'll still sting a little bit, I won't lie, but I'll make it, and I feel like being around this place is only going to remind me of her anyway. I need to be looking forward, not back. She ended up waking up about halfway through me packing my suitcase. There was momentary confusion as she looked around the room, and then she just started bawling. Maybe this is awful of me, but I didn't bother comforting her. I told her that I had the screenshots of her Uber and text messages from her phone, and that, plus her confirmation, was enough that things between us were completely done. She didn't answer me, and just cried louder. I debated trying to continue the conversation, but I decided to just pack the rest of my suitcase and head back out to the living room until she came out. When she finally left the bedroom, she sat next to me on the couch and asked me if we could talk things through. I told her as calmly as possible that wasn't how things were going to work. I was going to ask questions. I wanted honest answers. She told me she'd be honest, so I proceeded. My voice was shaking the entire time. It was taking me everything to hold it together, but I kept going. Was this the first time she had cheated? She started crying before she answered that, and then told me no. She had cheated on me multiple times over the course of our relationship. It was, and I'm going to use her words exactly here, just sex, a way for me to let off steam. None of it ever meant anything. I wrote a comment shortly after making my post that all the love couldn't just fade away in one swoop. Well, it can. It hit me right then that I wasn't dealing with my wife. The person I was married to literally wasn't in the room. This was someone different. She refused to tell me exactly how many times she had cheated, just more than last night. Had she used protection? No hesitation from her before she nodded her head emphatically. She seemed surprised that I'd even ask that. I'm still going to get tested just to be safe. I did some research into timing and I'm going to look after it. Were her friends also cheating on their spouses? Yes and no. I tried to get her to tell me which of her friends were cheating so I could get in contact with their spouses. She probably should have, because her refusal led me to be messaging pretty much the romantic partner of every one of her girlfriends that I could find on social media. There are a couple that I don't know or couldn't find, but I did my part. Why did she do it? This was the answer that gutted me the most. I'm going to use her exact words again. I need to have sexual variety. I told her that it's not like our sex life is dull, and she clarified, it's not the same as something new. I didn't even have a response to that one. I had expected something about me working too much or not supporting her emotionally. Nope, she just screwed other guys because she felt like it and wanted to have some fun. When I didn't respond, she started asking me about counseling and therapy. I reiterated that our relationship was over and I'd be leaving. What she did next disgusted me. My ex actually tried to have sex with me. She put her hands on me and started trying to take off my clothes. I felt like I wanted to vomit, and I pushed her away after a couple of seconds. She just kept telling me that she would figure out a way to fix it, that we would work through it together. I told her that there was no way, and she started bawling again. She went to the bathroom and locked herself inside. I was just sick of everything at that point. I called her mother and told her what was going on. The full story too. The cheating, the questions I had asked, and the fact that I was leaving. I've always had a good relationship with my ex's parents. They both decided to drive to town, which is about an hour for them. Once I knew someone was on the way, I just grabbed my things and left. Her waterworks in the bathroom were just annoying me because it felt hollow to me, especially given the answers to my questions. I ended up packing another bag before I left and took all the things that I could think of that I felt sentimentally attached to with me. I then found a parking lot and sat in my car until I was able to get in contact with a buddy for a place to crash. I tried to take a nap, but I was running on way too much adrenaline. I knew when her parents had made it to the apartment because she started calling me. When I didn't answer those, she started texting me. She had gone from sad and crying to furious. Apparently, I'm an effing piece of crap for telling her mum everything. Whoops. I'm not sorry. I've received roughly 100 texts from her since leaving. They range from name-calling all the way to begging me to come back to sending me pictures of the food she ate for some reason. I haven't responded to any of them. I feel like I said my piece before leaving. So that's where I'm at now. We didn't have joint finances, so that part was easy. I cancelled all the subscriptions that got to my credit card just to be sure, and changed all my important passwords. I'm crashing on a friend's couch for the next bit, but I've got some feelers out for some short-term rental places until I can find something more permanent. I've got feelers out for a divorce attorney too. A co-worker of mine had a recommendation, so barring something better, I'll also probably just go with them. I also wanted to say that I was shocked how supportive everyone was, and thank you for that. Truly, from the bottom of my heart. It isn't easy for me to talk about emotional things with people close to me. This was an invaluable venting place for me. Thank you all so much. In the comments, my ex also tried to have sex with me when he told me he cheated. He was literally biting my neck while I cried on the bed. These people aren't normal. I genuinely think he was sociopathic, and I think yours is too. It's sickening, but a good final nail in the coffin to really kill those feelings. OP replies, it was her nails on my chest when she tried to take my shirt off that got me. It still makes me cringe thinking about it. I hope you're doing a lot better now. Glad you had the strength to get out of there and not put yourself through more of your ex's bullcrap. I find it funny that she started crying now. Seems like a complete flip from how heartless and cold she was to you when she first came home. Good riddance and good luck to your future OP. OP replies, I honestly don't know if she was crying because I was leaving or just because she was caught and the little universe she had built for herself was crumbling. I'd like to think she cared that I was leaving on some level, but her response to the whole thing does make me question. I'm looking into therapy, but as weird as it sounds, I want the anger to fuel me a little longer. The crying was the same reason a child cries when it gets caught with its hand in the cookie jar. The way she responded and acted, and her reasoning behind all of it, tells me she didn't care. She just cared about getting caught and that this will change her way of living. Honestly, her crying sounds way more attention-seeking and obnoxious, and she only did that to get sympathy from her ex and back together with him. Yeah right, like that's going to work. Also, she is delusional, goddamn. Quote, none of it ever meant anything. That line that so many cheaters use perfectly illustrates how selfish these people are. OP replies, I read several cheaters posting online using that same excuse. I don't know, maybe there is some truth to it. Maybe in the moment they aren't thinking about their spouse. It still doesn't change the decisions they make to continually mislead, but maybe it's not an outright lie. How did the wife think this was going to be fixed? Because she doesn't understand that the issue is the broken trust, not the physical act itself. I managed to forgive an ex for cheating, but realized I could never trust him again. I have never had anxiety before or after, but my brain was sending me constant thoughts that he was cheating, or him hiding his screen and suddenly clicking off Facebook. This was 10 years ago, when he realized I could see him messaging people, which may or may not have been innocent. I'll never know. But when it hit me, even if it was the best case scenario, for example, he was planning a wonderful surprise of some description, my brain would not be able to accept that anytime soon. I took a break from him and never got back in touch. I realized I was no longer questioning what people said or whether I was going bonkers from seeing one thing to be told I'm imagining it. You can forgive yourself to heal, but rebuilding trust isn't always possible. Her sending food pics mid-rant made me lol. I love you so much, please can we get through this? Our love is strong. You piece of mother effing trash, you tiny dick, you F. I effing hate you. Yo, try the biggie bag from Wendy's. This crap is tight, bro. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for making my sister leave my house after her joke about my son's mum leaving again? My son Jack is going to be 2 soon. His mum Annie has a complicated history and how this all happened. Her husband passed away, and 3 months after that, we slept together. We were barely friends at the time, so I didn't know until after our first night together that she'd recently become a widow. She told me that she was really lonely and just enjoyed that physical connection. So for about 8 months, that's how it was. We didn't see each other too often. Then we found out that she was pregnant. She wanted to go through with the pregnancy, and I fully supported her if that is what she wanted. The thing was, she still had a lot of grief, and when my son was born, it was hard for her to connect with him. She said she felt guilty having a baby with another man after losing her husband. By the time Jack was 4 months, she hadn't gotten any better, and her mental health completely deteriorated. I took over with him full-time after this since she wasn't in the best place to be a mother. Annie still visited a few days out of the week for a short period, but I was doing most of the childcare while she went to therapy. Then she was in the hospital for a while. She couldn't come over much during COVID except for video chats, so she's essentially become a stranger to him. 3 months ago, she started coming around more often after not seeing him for a while. She's on antidepressants and therapies helped her a lot. Now she's more set on being a mom, and we are slowly reintroducing him to her. My sister hasn't been happy about this. I know she's upset on my behalf, as I struggled a bit as a single parent. She knows the situation that happened with her, but still thinks she shouldn't be allowed back into Jack's life after abandoning him. And yeah, I get her feelings, but since Annie's in a better place mentally, then I want to give a shot at Jack having a mum around. I still have my guard up, obviously, and we've taken it one day at a time, but I see how different she is with him now. My sister hasn't dropped making comments no matter how many times I've told her to knock it off. She dropped by unannounced when Annie was here and was very openly hostile right in front of Jack. Annie offered to leave, and then my sister jokes, "Make sure you come back this time." I told her to leave and to not come back until she can act right with the mother of my child. My sister is offended that I'm taking her side by kicking her out of my house since she's only angry on my behalf and it was a joke she made. That's why she thinks I'm an asshole. For me, I was thinking I'd rather get her out ASAP before saying something else in front of my son. Was I being an asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. Your child, your child's mother, your rules. Your sister can be angry on your behalf, but her behavior is unacceptable, especially since you have said so. It's a joke. It's not a free pass to say whatever you want to say. Not the asshole. Your sister sounds awful. You were doing your best for Jack, and it sounds like Annie is too. Annie is sick, and your sister needs to realize this. She didn't abandon your son. She made sure the baby was going to be cared for, and then went to care for herself. No one has the right to judge Annie, as they haven't been in her situation. I say you and Annie carry on as you are. It sounds like you both want the best for everyone, and push your sister and her nasty mouth out of your life. It's attitudes like your sister's that make it hard to have mental illness. Even after working to get better, she is still shitting all over her. Not the asshole. And now, on to the update. Appreciate all the words and advice on my last post. There has been some new changes regarding the situation that happened before with my sister and Annie, so decided to leave a little update. Many of you were right about my sister's negativity possibly affecting the relationship between Annie and Jack. It's also reassuring to know that we were making the right call here. The last thing I wanted was to make Annie feel bad for things that were out of her control. At first, when I talked to my sister, we got nowhere. I even brought up what some of you said here. Would she feel the same if Annie had been in the hospital getting treatment for cancer or some other physical disease/illness? My sister claimed that that's not the same thing, and we had to have a deeper conversation on why it is exactly the same thing. Annie was not in the right place mentally to be a fit parent, and she decided to get help. There was no need for her hostility towards Annie now that she's gotten the treatment she needs, and we're taking steps to bring her back into Jack's life. My sister and I still didn't see eye to eye, so that's when I made the decision that she wouldn't be allowed around us for a while and stuck with the same condition that I made in my original post. We didn't talk for almost 2 months, then I guess my sister finally realized I wasn't gonna budge, so she agreed that she'd be more nicer to Annie and won't talk badly about her in front of Jack. Thought this meant that things would turn around, but unfortunately, it didn't end that way. Even after giving her a second chance, she still couldn't hold back from sending a message to Annie, letting her know that she's only doing this for me, but she will never be okay with her. She called her a terrible mother, among other things. She was counting on Annie not to show me this, since it would cost her son his aunt, like it said in her message. Oh yeah, I was pissed. Another talk with her later, I decided she is not having any contact with us at all. As much as it pains me, I can't have that kind of negativity around my son or his mother. Their relationship has been rebuilding nicely, and this is a crucial time for all of us. We don't need the extra drama. On a positive note, Jack has really warmed up to his mum, and it's a beautiful sight to see. I'm happy Annie is getting somewhere with him, and they seem to be getting closer every day. So, not all bad news, right? Thanks again, Reddit, for the help. You guys really helped ease my mind with this situation. Least don't feel like an asshole anymore for making the right choice. In the comments, no matter how things go with his mum, it sounds like you are putting your son's happiness and safety first. You are doing an amazing job. OP replies, he always comes first to us, and thank you. Glad to hear. Great news, and keep toxic people out. You're a really good person for stepping up, recognizing that mental health issues and mental health care is the same as physical care, and picking your son over your sister by defending the mother of your child. I'm so sorry your sister doesn't take mental health seriously, but this is a lovely update to see that Annie is getting better and is able to have a healthy relationship with Jack. I'm sure knowing that you are supporting her is incredibly helpful for both her and Jack. OP replies, it is very unfortunate. Annie wanted to be there for our son, but she couldn't until she got the help that she really needed. I don't see that any different from getting treatment for something physical that would prevent her from being around. Agree entirely. Your analogy to a physical injury/illness is spot on. Most importantly, Annie was wanting to get better and just needed support. She wasn't trying to dip out for the sake of it. And that's where I'm going to finish today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.